Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, good afternoon. Good afternoon. All right, thank you. Thank you. Just for a minute, let's kind of let our painful emotions rest a minute, okay? And let me say, I admire my colleague, young Grant Hodges, how bold he is. I don't care how you see it, but how bold he is, how eloquent in speech he's been. I like him. I like him. My great-great-grandfather, one George McGill, fought in the Civil War. I don't know his whole story. I don't share his pain because I don't know his story. I just know one George McGill fought in the Civil War. I often thought about what happened when they said the war was over. And this one George McGill was told, said, George, you can go. You can go now, the war's over. I often wondered what he took with him. Did anyone give him ration to eat? I wonder if they took the weapon that he fought with as he moved up from Mississippi and came to Arkansas. I know he was dirt poor. Where he lived along the Arkansas River, where the sooty coal trains traveled. As a child, I remember going to where the house he built. Coal trains came probably 200 yards from where he lived, and the place was sooty. I wonder what he went through. Don't know. I wasn't there, I didn't live it. I was a youngster at the University of Arkansas during the Civil Rights crisis. And I had a big afro, big one. I mean, it was good looking. And I had the dashikis and I gave the power sign. And we were bold enough as 18-year-olds to take a stand against the things we thought were wrong. You all don't know anything about that. You didn't feel my pain. That's why I'm asking you to set aside the pain of your emotions right now and hear me. What I want to talk about is what we do moving forward from here. I'm going to tell my grandkids, I'm going to tell my grandson, I know a guy by the name of Dan Sullivan that I work with that went to prayer caucus with every Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. And we prayed together. And I'm going to tell them about a friend of mine, Miss Della Rosa, where we sit together in education and we laugh and talk, and then we vote different ways, but at the end of that, I tell her she's a good legislator. I'm going to tell my story. I can't tell George's story. I'm going to tell my friends about my friend Charlie Collins. I hated his gun bill. But he is one of my best friends. Those are the things that I'm going to talk about because those are the things I know for a fact. And I'm going to tell my kids about the great John Walker. I'm going to tell them the story about Eddie Armstrong. Folks, let me tell you something. What we're doing, we're creating some space for education here. That's all we're doing. I'm reading a book now that has to do with what went on right before we succeeded and separated and joined the South right before the Civil War. And the men that worked in this chamber, they were eloquent in speech. Loved the way they talked. And the conversation was from the guys that served in this chamber. They were talking to the guys up north, and they said, "Who are you to criticize us for how we treat our labor? When in the sweatshops and factories up north, you treat those people like dogs, you work them every day, and you pay them very little. Who are you to tell us how to treat anybody?" Read the way they spoke and how eloquent they were. Of course, I don't know, I didn't feel that pain. What we're doing is creating some space where we can educate our children. And we're going to leave it to the educators to talk about things we're not sure of. I'm going to leave it to the educators to research it and find out what happened to George. How was George treated? I know a little about Martin Luther King because I lived that era, but I don't know what George endured. And at the end of all of this, how many of you all know Kay and Judy? Kay Nolan, does that recognize that name? Judy Owens, you recognize that name? Those are the two ladies that work upstairs, and they're responsible for recording everything we do. Stop by and visit and see what they do. They've got a shelf up there that's got about 20 binders that on the back says 2017. And they're going to bind up everything we do and put it in those binders at the end of this session. Tuesday's work created 320 pages just this past Tuesday. They record it and they proof it, and they're going to put it in these big binders. And what we do today, they're going to stick it in one of those binders, and then they're going to haul it somewhere and stick it with the other 500 or 600 binders. And if you're not smart, you won't even be able to find this legislation in those binders. But what we will have done is created a framework of education so our children will know the truth about who we are. They'll know the pain and suffering of war. They'll know the pain and suffering of being mistreated and told, like I was told when I first went to the University of Arkansas, you cannot live in this dormitory because of the color of your skin. I don't tell my grandson that story. Too painful for me. I don't carry that luggage around. When I left the University of Arkansas, me and some of my friends said, I'll never set foot on that campus again, the way we were treated. We got rid of that luggage. One of my favorite places to go. One of my favorite places to go. Couldn't carry that hatred and that pain with me forever. Let's set that aside. Let's do something for our children. Let's do something for the state of Arkansas by creating some space where they can take time to talk about Robert E. Lee and what he did that day when he painfully surrendered and reached his hand across and said, enough is enough. Let's do that for our children. We shouldn't confuse them. Let's let the educators educate. And we stand for something good. Again, if you get a chance, go visit Kay and Judy. Because what we do today with this paper and this document, it's going to be filed away. but let us be proud of results in the framework for education we give our children. And I encourage you to vote for it. And then when somebody says something about it, tell them my friend is Charlie Collins, and we decided to do something. I'm gonna tell them my friend is Andy Mayberry, and we decided to do something for you, for this state. Arkansas is much bigger than its footprint. Our governor recognizes that. He knew the pain that this was going to bring, but he was bold about it. He talked about economic development for this state. He talked about creating open doors where people be openly and willingly ready to come to Arkansas, not only to bring jobs, but to bring their families and to educate their children. Let's do something for our children and our grandchildren. Give them a chance to learn these things in a proper setting. And we pray the educators will create a curriculum that we'll all be proud of. And I urge you to vote for it.
Members, Representative McGill has spoken for the bill. Would anyone like to speak against the bill? For the bill? Representative Hodges, would you like to close for your bill? Representative Hodges has signified that he has closed for his bill, so the question now before us will be the passage of Senate Bill 519. We have one pair on the desk. Representative Francis Cavanaugh votes yes. Representative De La Rosa votes no. It's witnessed by Representative Jett. Representative De La Rosa is the present member. Are there any procedural objections to this pair? Please do not vote either of these two voting machines. Prepare the machine, Mr. Clerk. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? All right, let's cast the ballots, Mr. Clerk. With 66 yeas, 11 nays, and 5 present, the bill has passed.